I'm trying something new. I'm kind of building my own cheese. Reading this book, Mastering the Art of Cheesemaking. This is an incredible book. I got an idea from something that she does with one of her cheeses where they weight it with a board, freeform, and that's supposed to give it like slumpy sides. So I want to do that. And then once you air dry it and once you get it going, I'm going to make a wash with some b.linens in it. Then I'm going to rub it with a local ale so it gets a little bit of that rosiness. And then I'm just going to continue washing it until it develops. I don't know. I have no idea what it's going to develop. A rind? Is it going to get moldy? Is it going to be a clear and rosy thing? I don't know. So this is my cheese and I'm calling it Smackered because, you know, alcohol and it's smacked down. Isn't that clever? Right here I have almost 8 gallons. It's probably a little bit shy to 80 degrees. So it's going to be a scant half teaspoon of this MA11. Let it rehydrate for a few minutes. Going to give it a good stir, get this worked in, and then I'm going to bring the heat up to 90 degrees and then just let it culture for 15 minutes before I add the calcium chloride and the rennet. All right, we're at 90 degrees. So now this is going to just culture or ripen for 15 minutes. This is the solution that I make myself. You can find it either on my blog or on the YouTube channel. Dilute it a little bit. So I have 1.5 teaspoons of calcium chloride. I'm going to stir that in. And then I'm going to let this just set for 5 minutes and then I'll come back and do the rennet. The other thing that this cookbook does all the time is add the cultures before it comes to the full ripening temp. So I added the cultures at 80 degrees, then brought it to 90 degrees and then let it culture. She does that with a lot of her recipes. And the reason for that is that you want to get the good cultures in there. It's kind of like inoculating the milk faster and then you bring it up to temp so it doesn't give bad bacteria a chance to start living. You want to get it in earlier. The other thing she does is she stirs the cultures in for a longer period of time, like 3 to 5 minutes. You stir during that time. The other thing she does is when you add the calcium chloride, stir that in, and then she always says to wait for 5 minutes before adding the rennet. Other recipes just do it right in a row. So I'm not sure why. I suppose I could look it up. Adding the calcium chloride at least 1 hour before adding the rennet allows the calcium chloride to begin binding to the proteins and phosphorus in the milk. But it's just her style. So I'm just doing it this person's style today, more or less. For 8 gallons, it would be a teaspoon of rennet, so I'm going to do a scant teaspoon. Dilute it in a little bit of water and stir it in. She always says to stir it for 1 minute. I'll just stir it for a little bit. Yep, it's 1 minute and I can see that it's kind of starting to change a little bit. So cool. This is supposed to culture for 45 minutes. I'm going to give it 30 minutes because my milk has been setting up fairly quickly these days. I'm not sure why. Maybe the stage of lactation that Emma's in. I don't know. Yep. After 30 minutes, totally clean break. Break it up with a whisk. Gorgeous curd, so pretty. Gonna rest 5 minutes. Going to bring this up to 100 degrees over the course of 30 minutes, stirring by hand. It was kind of really loose and milky. The couple things to notice about this mixture is I cut it with a whisk, so it's fairly fine. Feels good, feels loose and full. Loose, what do I mean? I mean, it feels like there's a lot of pieces in here and they feel kind of juicy and light. One of the differences is that this mixture looks creamier to me. Sometimes the whey is a blue-green clear color almost, and this is more of a milky color. So I don't know if that means that it wasn't quite at a clean break, though it looked like that to me. Maybe it's just that this is a full fat milk. I think it's okay. It's at 98 degrees, so this was paced pretty well. Has to get to 100. The curds are fairly small. There's little pieces like that, and then there's bigger ones like that. So they're different sizes. I never get them consistent. I don't worry about it too much. I'm gonna give them a squeeze test right now. See how they hold. It's kind of, it holds, it's loose-ish. It's kind of what I expect. All right, we're at 100. So I'm gonna cut the heat and I'm gonna continue to stir this for another 15 to 30 minutes. This is how the curds are right now. Like that. I'm going to take some of this and I'm supposed to press it between my hands, let the whey drain off, and then You go like this and see if it sticks to your hand. Whoop. I think it's supposed to do a little bit more so that it sticks longer, which is a really messy test, as you just saw. So I don't know if that's a good test. I think I might prefer just simply squeezing it and seeing. Like I can see that there's some gaps in it. It's not knitting together 100%. I mean, it's good, but I think it could be more. Like it's just a little bit wobbly-ish. So I might go for another 10. That makes it 20 because I can do math. It's soon there. And these curds are small and they're starting to feel a little bit rubbery. I bought this pH meter thingy tester, these strips. It's inaccurate, highly inaccurate, but it is helpful to get an idea of where I'm at. It says that, I'm not gonna tell you what it's supposed to say. The whey is supposed to be a certain pH at the end of stirring when the curds are ready to go into the press. So what do you think it is? Is that a 5? 4? No, 5. To me it looks like pretty much like a 6. Take your guess what this is. I'm gonna say it's a 6. It's supposed to be a 6.4 acidity when it's ready. So it may have gone too far. I don't know. Let's test the curds and see. They feel springy. Squeezing them this way, holding together a little bit, but not much. They come apart pretty easily. Let's do her test, even though I think it might not be a great one because of the mess. Squeezing off the whey, putting it like that, like a pat, and then turning it over. Does it stay? It doesn't stay any longer. I think this is done. I'm gonna scoop some out for the pigs first, for their breakfast. You got it? Okay, so you need to be back here because you're gonna be lifting. I'm holding this. Slowly, slowly, slowly. You don't want to go fast because it disturbs the curd. This is a fair amount of curd. Hang on, hang on, hang on. Okay, stop. Thank you. This goes to the pigs. Put a little bit of warm water on this. You can also use warm whey. The dishes haven't been done yet. So here's the curd. It looks pretty decent. Just gonna clump it into here. Oh, it's going to make a pretty big cheese, I think. The instructions say you're supposed to be pressing on the cheese in the whey to consolidate it. I don't find that that's necessary. It consolidates itself just fine. Oh, crap. Okay. Ha! No! I knew that would happen. All right, it's kind of a mess. Just going to press on this for a minute. I'm supposed to set the followers on top without additional weight. I am going to put a little bit additional weight on because I'm not very obedient. Just a wee bit. I already pressed it down some. When I don't want to add additional weight, I often just like do 2 of these without the springs, and that just adds a little bit of push. I'm going to give it 15 minutes and then I'm going to come back and try to flip it, and we'll try to like tidy this mess up. The general pressing idea, according to the instructions, is to press it, you know, no weight, 15 minutes, flip, kind of let it press itself for another 15 minutes, flip, press it at half of its weight for 30 minutes, flip, half of its weight, 30 minutes, and then eventually you get up to the whole weight of the cheese. That's what you're pressing it at. So this cheese, I'm imagining, is probably between 8 and 10 pounds at this point. So it's very low pressure. I might go up to 20 pounds on this because these markers, that goes up to 80 and starts down at 0. It's not really accurate. I just do light pressure, medium pressure, heavy pressure because I have to keep pushing it down. It's not like one of those things where you hang the water jug on the end and you know that is the weight that is constantly pressing down. This kind of catches and won't like follow hard on the curd, which is fine. It totally works. It's fine, but I just don't follow these numbers exactly. So we're just doing very, very light pressure in the beginning. I scooched it over here because I'm cleaning everything up. So you can see this much whey is dripping off. The lip of this is now down on the inside. It's quite wet and quite loose, but it's coming together. I'm gonna have lots of little crumbles fall off now. Oh, it just finished vacuuming. Oh well, that's a pretty gorgeous cheese. It's right inside. Perfect. Just more of its own weight with that on top. A little bit more whey. Sunk down a wee bit, but it's still not knitted together very well. Look at all those holes. It needs to be pressed now. You know what? I'm not even going to flip it because I'm just going to increase the pressure. I want to get a better knit on this. I'm going to give this right around 20 pounds, which is a light pressure. Give it 30 minutes to see how that knits. Actually, I feel like I should do it harder. I'm a little bit worried. That's more like 40. It's still running clear. I'm going to let it just go. We're gonna go 2 hours and then I'll flip it. So the pigs got out. Where are they? There they are. Nope, that's enough. And they've been eating the apples in the front yard, and now my son needs to get them back. He was moving them from the pasture into the garden. He put up an electric fence and they got out. Not quite 2 hours, but I'm getting ready to flip this cheese because my cheese group is coming and we're going to be eating cheeses and I don't want to have to deal with this while they're here. I'm getting all ready for them. The cheeses I want to show them. Parmesan that I'm not quite sure about. Feta, which I'm ready to brine. I want to hear the recommendations. Some bad mozzarella that I'm struggling with. Jarlsberg that got a bunch of mold on it. All these, oh my goodness. Can you stop? All these bries. This one's funky, this one is with charcoal, ash, and this one is regular. We'll see how those are, what they think. And then over here I'm all ready. Getting some cheeses out, and they'll bring cheeses that they make and we will discuss. Can't wait. But back to this cheese, let's flip this quickly. Did you scrub those well enough that you would be happy eating out of them?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this knit is not very tight yet. It's still fairly loose. So I am going to try to up the pressure just a little bit to get it a little bit firmer. It's pretty cool, room temperature, kind of. It's a warm day today, but it's still kind of cool in here. 40 pounds. It'll be about 2 more hours until they're here, probably for about 2 hours or so. And then I will take it out and we'll try to do the smackered top with the board. Oh, that looks like a much better knit. Yeah. Gorgeous. To do the smackering, I have this board. It's a spinny cake stand thingy. And I'm gonna weight it down with this. No, it should be heavier. There. I don't know if there's any sign of it slumping. So I might be imagining things. So we're gonna flip it. I don't think this is heavy enough. It's like 1 pound and something. So I'm adding this, putting this brine thing of feta, which is 4 pounds. That makes that about 5 pounds, which is giving it a little bit more of a bend, but not much. This may have been pressed too long. This feta, by the way, is bad, bad, bad. It turned all mushy on the inside, except for the very center, which is hard. It's gross. It's curving a wee bit, but not much. How's that? Is that looking like it's bowing out at all? Very slightly, not much. It really knit together well. Maybe I pressed it too hard earlier. We'll see, let's keep going. I'm getting impatient, and so I'm going to increase the weight with milk. This is like 6 pounds. Hope the cheese doesn't split open. I think that was some whey that popped out on the side. It was a little bit wet. It is getting a wee bulge, wee bulge. Another 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna call it good. All right, I've been flipping it back and forth for about an hour now, and it's slightly rounded, very slightly, but it's enough that I think that's all we're gonna do. I should have done this earlier in the whole process, but I didn't. Time to brine. It's gonna pop up. Pop. I'm going to take it out of the brine and weigh it because I don't know how long I'm supposed to be brining it for. Oh, 8 pounds. The cheese looks a little like wrinkly and mottled, like it just got squished, like it's dimply. And you can see the curd discoloration. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about there's like a warbly, rubbly, nubbly. What I'm trying to say is it's not smooth like a cheese normally is. And that's because of pressing it down with the board, I think. The cheese is pretty much dry. It looks good, feels good. 7 pounds, 15 ounces. It just lost a couple ounces. Here's a little story for you. My son's friend works in a brewery in town. I texted him and I'm like, hey, I want to make a cheese that is ale rubbed. Do you have anything that you think would be good with this? And he's like, yeah. I said, can I come over after work? So I went over and he came out with this. We sat them down and he explained them to me, like which ones had the most alcohol, which ones with the flavor. This is a lighter one, this is a darker one. I was looking at them, I'm like, okay, I think I'll take this one. How much is it? He said, oh, you can just have it. He's like, actually, you can have all of these. Like, these are just giving away beers. Like, these are things that we have as extra, I guess, I don't know. And I'm like, well, heck yeah, I'll take all of them. So I am going to possibly do several of these different trials. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. The recipe I was following, the instructions are, come over from work, pop open a beer, pour some over your cheese, rub it in, drink the rest. I'm not going to do that. I'm not a huge beer drinker. Ooh, that's yummy. I highly recommend. Roasted pecan brown ale. Delicious. I think I could drink one every day. That's not what we're going to do. These are the linens right there. There are a couple different kinds of linens. Ones that you put into the cheese and other ones that you put into the liquid that you rub with the cheese. Some that you do a combo of both. This one, I think from what I've read, is a combo. I can either put it into the cheese or I can also put it into the wash, and I'm doing this into the wash. They always say to measure with skewer tips. The skewer tip, it's slanty like that. So that little flat spot is what I'm going to be measuring with. Oh, I never looked at these before. They're red. Look at that. That is so cool. This is going to turn this a rosy hue, plus the ale should make it a little bit darker colored too. Like, I think that's actually more than a skewer tip. Gonna dump that in. I'm thinking it's a big cheese, 1/16. This is more like 1/32 or 1/64. I'm doing 2 of these to make sure there's enough. Going up on the top of the skewer, that's no problem. I'm gonna say that's good. I'm gonna do 3. I don't want to turn this into a really stinky cheese. I'm tempted to taste it. I want it to be just like a rosy cheese. The reason I added salt is I heard that it does something to the cell structure, like it breaks it apart or doesn't let it break apart or does something that doesn't allow it to do its job if it doesn't have salt. You don't want to put it in straight water. Soak that in there. Just gonna wash it all over. Really not tricky. And there we go. That's the first smackering. I'll flip it tomorrow. Maybe on Saturday I'll wash it. I'll see. I don't know. I'll see what happens over the course of the next several weeks. Washing it, I think you're supposed to wash it as molds come. It kind of keeps them at bay. Maybe I'll add salt. Maybe I won't. I don't know. And I really wish it wasn't 10:15 in the morning so I could drink all of this. It smells so good. It smells like ale. Starting today, I'm just doing a straight ale wash rub, and I'll probably do it twice a week, like every Wednesday and every Saturday or thereabouts. Oh, I'm gonna give it to you to smell, but you can't smell it. But it's feeling smooth and nice. Gavin Weber said that he doesn't even use cloths at a certain point. Cloths can wash away the mold, and not that I even have mold here, but there's just no need. You can just like pour it over with your hands and rub it on. So that's why I'm doing it over the sink. And now this just goes back down to the cheese cave. I smell it from here. It smells yeasty and good. It looks like there's a little bit of, it's a little sticky-ish. This is just its flip. It's looking different. There's getting some mold on it. It's feeling a little bit fuzzy almost, a little soft. It smells a little bit yeasty. There's some blue mold that's coming up right there. See those little spots of blue mold, and then the white mold, which is very soft. Turning it over, there's more of that white mold. Some of that, whatever that is. You can see it kind of comes off on my hands. So this is the ale that I've had in the fridge from that first bottle. It's kind of like almost pasty, like, or like bread dough, like you're getting bread dough washed up on that. I don't know if that's right. I'm just gonna keep doing this because I think that's what you're supposed to do. Like, it feels like I'm getting it dirty. Like this is like washing off. So I don't know if I should be getting a new paper towel, which I'm going to do because I just don't know. I'll wash that back on. So that's going to be on the bottom now. And this is the top. I'll flip it again sometime this weekend. And then next Wednesday, I'll wash it again. I don't show you the flips in between and how many times I'm checking on it just because that's kind of boring. So it's getting all this white And then there's all these red spots and black mold and blue gray stuff. Can you tell there that it's like fuzzy? Like the fuzzes are coming up. It's like poofing up. Not really getting pink like I thought it would from the b.linens, but it smells really good, so I'm not gonna worry about it. It smells very fresh. So what I'm gonna do, this is just the straight ale that's been in the fridge. I don't know that this is doing anything. Maybe I should let all those molds develop, but I'm just kind of, whoops, rubbing them off or rubbing them around, keeping them at bay, I guess is what you would say. It's like this pasty stuff is coming off on my hands, and I don't know if that's like cheese goop and that's bad, or if that's mold goop, or if this should be more air dried, but I'm just gonna let it go. I washed it this weekend and flipped it, and it is beginning to look a wee bit different. It's not really red, but this is feeling sticky, and there's a little bit of, I don't know what that stuff is right there. That it's like almost peeling. So is that part of the cheese? I'm not sure. The mold had been all fuzzy when I went to wash it this weekend, and now it's tamped down. Oh, like right here. Here it's not. Here you can see it's like the fuzzies are rising up on the side. I like the pinkish color. I'm gonna flip this board because the board's getting kind of cruddy. I'm gonna let it do its own thing now and not keep washing. I have been turning this cheese almost every day. It is a little bit sticky, but not really. It's getting quite funky, dusty, dirty, gross. I'm not sure what these red dots are. You kind of like, ooh, peel up some of this stuff. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't feel like there was enough b.linens on this. And I feel like those black spots might be mold. I think I'm gonna rub these with ale plus some b.linens and salt. I'm gonna put a bunch in this time just because of so much mold. Make it quite salty. I'm gonna use a pinch like that, which is more than a skewer. I was using just my hand, and I feel like that because of this mildewy stuff, I might need more oomph to it. I don't know what those red spots are. They kind of concern me a little bit. I feel like the cheese is washing off a little bit here. It's a little bit like milky, pasty. I don't know if that's good or bad. Probably bad. The cheese itself is quite hard. Kind of try to wash that goopy stuff off. This cheese is getting a real bath. Kind of like wiping it off, like scraping off a body or something after you get out of the shower. Putting this here to just create a little bit of a lift because I did notice one of my cheeses stuck to the board. I wasn't turning it frequently enough. I mean, it didn't stick. I just took a little bit to peel it off, and I don't want to have that problem again. And I'm going to crack the lid on this so there's a little bit of airflow. I'm going to leave it like that, probably in the downstairs bedroom. I don't want anything to get into it, but I don't want it to be completely sealed. It is getting quite a lot of mold on it. A little bit of condensation on there. Since I am no longer rubbing this with a brine, I'm going to just take a cloth. I'm just going to like scrub it down just to control the mold. I don't know if this is, ooh, it's like coming off some of it, some of the patches. But now it feels stickier as I'm getting the mold off. I think that's better. It feels stickier now. Now this will continue to age. It's almost a 2-month-old cheese, and it is getting quite the gnarly rind. Doesn't smell bad. This week I think I'm going to dry rub it again. I don't know what to do. It feels good. It feels firm. I think this is right. So I'm just gonna dry rub it and we'll see what happens. I think this black stuff is mildew, but I'm not sure. I wish it looked like this all over. Like this is what I think it looks more like in the pictures, but I don't know. And as I take off that mold, it feels stickier. So I don't know at what point I just let this go. Still figuring this out, as you can see. I have not been keeping tabs on here of what I'm doing. So I'm gonna put a piece of tape down so I can better track. This is 1, 4, and this is dry rub today. This is my oldest natural rind cheese, and I think I need to soon taste it, but I don't want to cut into it because then this whole thing is over. You can see on the outside, this has a lot of condensation, which is probably not good. It smells like the color blue. It smells light, vegetable-y a little bit, moldy, but there's a brightness to it. It's not a musty mold. The temperature in the cellar right now is, ooh, look at all that blue, 58. It's turned warm these past few days. I'm assuming this is mold, mildew on the dark stuff, which they say is not a problem. And you can see like there's pink spots there. I'm so curious about this one. It's smelling earthy, like a cave. I'm just gonna let this go and not worry about the mold today. It feels like the mold growth has kind of controlled itself. Actually, I take that back. I just brushed down this cheese with this vegetable brush I just got, and it did an amazing job. So I'm gonna do it on the Smackered and see how it is. I am not washing the brush in between. They seem to have similar molds. I'm not gonna worry about it too much. This is different from the other one. This feels very mildewy. I don't like that feeling. Feels like I'm playing with mud. What is that? Gross. I also recently read that you're not supposed to be rubbing it in a circular motion. You're just supposed to be like wiping it down. And I'm here rubbing it and doing all kinds of things probably very wrong. Look at that, it's like clay. So I have no idea if this was right to wet it down like that. I'm just gonna probably try to flip it tomorrow and let it keep going. Look at how it's covering up the mildew spots underneath, and the cheese is feeling firm. It smells good, and it's just like something that you would find at a cave somewhere as a rock. Today, we're gonna sample it. I should have continued to wash it like every day for 10 days consecutively. The salt washes hold everything else at bay so that the b.linen can rise to the top and take over. And what I did this way was just doing a couple b.linen washes and then regular salt brine or rubbing or flipping or whatever I was doing. And that let all these other molds come and take over. Come on out. There we go. Oh, it's so cool. Oh, it feels a little bit rubbery. Not sure. It's creamy and soft and flavorful and delicious and good. Like, nice, really nice. We're not eating the whole thing. I have to plug this hole back up. Hey, it's my job, not yours. Stop. Move.
It feels like that texture of...
Chalky?
Yeah, like dentist toothpaste.
No, it doesn't. I think it could be eaten now or aged longer, and we're just going to keep aging it.
I don't think you need that thing to put it back in.
No, I don't know. Just want to make sure. Look at that. I'm going to plug it all up.
It's all gone.
It's gone. We just tasted the Smackered.
Shouldn't you keep a bit of cheese to like rub around?
I should, but I didn't. We'll see what happens.
Get a little water.
It might get a little. Oh, here's a little tiny bit of. I can't even see it anymore. Oh, my glasses on. That's good enough. It's so beautiful. We're going to keep aging it, and I'll just be flipping it as we go. It is, once again, getting some white fuzzy mold on this. It feels like it's more mold than normal. That feels like more. What to do, what to do. First of all, there's so much moisture in here. I'm going to rub this down. Oh, it's like pooling on the bottom. But you know, in the caves too, they have water trickling down the walls of the cave when they age the cheeses. So I don't know if that matters. Where does all this moisture keep coming from? Maybe I'll just kind of like lightly tap over it so that keeps it a little bit under control. So much blue. It's wild. Oh, there's the little lumpy. That's where I tasted it last time. I just spent a whole bunch of time researching what to do once you think they're ready to eat. Like, how the heck do you go about cleaning them up and eating them? Because here's what I don't know. If you cut into it and then Vac-Pack it or put it in plastic in the fridge, like you eat part of it and not all of it, won't all that mold on the outside just creep into the interior and get all the cheese all goopy, moldy? In other words, how well do I have to clean up the rind? And once the rind is cleaned up, however I do that, is there a way to continue to age it, but without the mold continuing? Ways that I could stop it is to scrape off all the mold with a knife and then, I guess, Vac-Pack it and eat it. But a lot of cheeses you see in the store or in fancy places, whatever, have the mold on it, like it's been controlled, but you still have mold in the rind. You don't scrape off the whole rind. Another option is to kind of like brush it down really well and then oil it, and that will kind of lock things in, supposedly. I don't know a lot about this, and there wasn't much information, unfortunately. I think it had a hard time with mildew. I can clean that off, and I have tried to clean it off, but that stain will never go away. That stays there. So I don't know if that's going to affect the flavor or the cheese in any way. I know that cheese mites do not normally cause problems for cheeses that are about 3 months or less. I also know that blue molds that are growing on the outside, they are not controlled very much by either salt or vinegar, because they can tolerate salt just fine and they can also tolerate vinegar. So the way to control blue mold growth on the outside is generally with just brushing it off and keeping it controlled that way, or with putting an oil on, or, you know, bandage wrap or Vac-Pack or whatever else. I'm just gonna brush this off using my vegetable brush that people said is good, but I feel like this is too hard. Now you see the mildew spots coming through right there. They say do not scrub And they say do not go in a circular motion, so I'm just trying to brush it off. There's these pink spots right there. Yellow, I don't know what that is. Blue, we know. And then that seems like mildew maybe, but maybe not. I don't know. And then here's regular. And then look at all that mold. And there's that all gunked up. I mean, really, I think looking at it, like if I compare it to pictures in books, that looks like what you often see cheeses looking like. Here, let me show you. That rind right there, like that rind right there. I mean, yeah, that does have black on it. And brown and white. It's kind of like what mine is. There's some more rinds like that. They are quite black underneath. There you take one that is already been natural rinded and you're putting oil on top and rubbing that over. Those are black and brown. That one has lots of white and browns, some black under there. Here's the mites I was talking about. The mites will burrow in and make those holes in the cheese, which is desirable for a particular kind. Oh, here, this is what I've often used. So there you get different looks. And see, then you want to rub the rind with an oil paste, oil and chocolate probably. So I could technically take this cheese right now and rub it with oil and cocoa powder. Part of me really wants to do that, to just take this and rub it and see what happens. The other thing they did say I could do is I could rub salt on top of this, and just that kind of helps to cut down on mold growth. I mean, it is beautiful. It smells good. Almost 3 months. I don't know. All right, I've decided I am going to do an oil rub. I'm going to use black pepper and cocoa, a blend of them, and we'll see what happens. I don't know. 2 tablespoons of cocoa-ish. A teaspoon of black pepper. No, I'll make it 2 teaspoons of black pepper. 1, 2. And then I'm going to add some oil. I don't want it to be too thin because I want it to stay on the cheese. That's kind of pretty. They said part of the benefit of doing with herbs and spices in the rub is that it helps to wash off or rub off any unwanted mold. Oh shoot, I'm gonna need more. It's really soaked in. Making cheese is basically choose your own adventure. We're gonna continue to flip this over the weekend. I might re-oil it. I don't have any left over like I thought I would, so I will make more if I need to. We'll see. And right here it is on the front of the cover, the chocolate rub. So that's kind of what we just did. It's been 1 week since we did the Smackered cheese and did that cocoa rub. And look at this. Look at this. Look at this. The cocoa is totally getting covered up with the mold. It's going straight through it. It's like eating it alive. So we're going to just rub it again. I don't know what else to do. This is always wet inside, which intrigues me because I keep thinking, how in the world can moisture be coming out? And other cheeses that I have aging in containers like this do not give off this much moisture. It just is ripening really, really well. There's not trouble spots that I can detect. That's why I keep letting it go. I am flipping this every 2 days, more or less. It is not as moldy. That second coating seemed to really help. You can see there's some blue coming through, but it's kind of gray-white more now. It's kind of interesting because right there is like a browner and then it's a whiter. I don't know why that is, but it still feels very, very firm. Add just a little bit more oil because it's dry. I think I'm gonna need more. This is like absorbing it or something. So for this batch this time, total is probably a 1/3 cup of cocoa powder and maybe a 1/2 cup of oil. And in it goes. Haha. Good morning, my friends. We are going to be, I've decided today, cutting into the Smackered. I'm done with it. I'm sick of it. I got it up this morning to switch it and it is totally blue-green, covered in mold, getting white fuzz. And I'm just like, you know, this is way too complicated. This is too hard. This is not stabilizing as it's aging and I'm not sure why. I mean, maybe this is stabilized. I don't know because I don't know anything about aging cheeses. So we're just gonna like clean this up and cut into it. So I smell the cocoa powder. I smell the earthy smells. So here's the cheese. The blue doesn't actually come off that much on my hands. You can see that white mold is puffing up. Just gonna lightly try to get the fluffies off so it doesn't like get into the cheese. I have no idea if this is how you clean up a cheese for eating. That's this moldy. Maybe I'm supposed to cut off the rind. Maybe there's dangerous stuff. See, it's different, like it's whiter there and bluer over here. Don't know why. It's my theme, I think. Don't know, don't know, don't know. Oh, see, and now it's sticking like that stuff. Leaves. The moment of truth has come. Getting all these little bits all over the table. So if you remember, I did taste this, but I don't know where that hole is. Is that it? Well, I think that's it. That little spot right there. I think what I'm going to do is cut straight through it. Then I'll determine whether or not I should be cleaning up the rind. Like I know Gavin Weber and other people, like they sometimes scrape it off. I'm just gonna cut it and we're gonna see how this turned out. I wish you could smell it. It doesn't smell great. It smells like a cave. Here we go, people, here we go. Okay, I don't want it to fall. You ready? You ready? You want to see? You want to see? Look at that! Oh my word! It's like a yellow cheese. It's gorgeous. Look at that rind. It's really thick of something or other. Oh, it smells delicious. You can see the chocolate smears. It feels soft. Wow. It's very soft, very creamy. I shouldn't say very. It's soft and creamy. It reminds me a little bit like a Monterey Jack texture. Okay. It's just delicious. It's a mild, delicious cheese. There's nothing sharp. There's nothing weird. Kind of reminds me of a Gouda. I'm tasting the rind now. Ooh. Got a hit of, ooh, bitter. Whew. Where's that heat? Bitter and heat. I don't like the rind. It's probably the cocoa and the black pepper and a little bit of earthy funk. I'm going to cut off the rind and I'm going to taste that part. So it's like, it's just perfectly fine. It's so yummy. I don't taste any of the alcohol. I mean, naturally, like this is overpowered big time by other stuff on the outside. Oh, the rind kind of breaks. It crumbles. So Gavin often cleans up his cheeses. I'm going to see what happens if I do this. Oh, that's nice. I like that. I have seen in videos where they, in factories, like they stick the wheel of cheese in a holder thing or something, and then they take these big blades and just go down over the cheese to clean it up. I should have done that then when the wheel was not cut, obviously. This is actually looking golden underneath. This is hard work. This hurts my hands. Do this to the whole cheese before you open it. Lesson noted. I would not want to do this every day, all day, because it hurts. My hands are hurting. There's like bits of mold on top or mildew. Just pulling them off. Oh, I feel like I just had a mud party. So much goop. So here's where my mind goes with this cheese. It wasn't what I was thinking when I went after Smackered. Like this did not get smacked down. It has no flavor from the ale whatsoever. I don't see any of the b.linens. I mean, I guess there's a little bit of a rosiness to it. Perhaps underneath that could be the b.linens, but no, not really. It's just a decent cheese. Like Gouda-esque. What I have learned is a lot. You really can age a cheese. Everything stays on the outside. It really does. And the inside is gorgeous. And there's zero problem with it, which is fascinating. I wonder how it would be if I had gone a lot longer. Like how much more gnarly could I have let it get? Would that have made it a bad thing or a good thing? Cocoa doesn't give it a flavor unless it's like done in the very beginning, close up to it. Black pepper, not really. Could I have, like right now, if I salt brined it, like, I mean, not brined it, like rubbed it to salt wash, a light salt brine, and let it go, like, is it going to just keep springing back new mold? Would this become a more polished rind where it's not so messy? These are just my questions that come to me as I'm working on this type of thing. I suppose I could cut it off, but I kind of like the little bit of texture and darkness at the rind. It's kind of pretty. I wouldn't have to keep doing this. I could stop right now and Vac-Pack it. I'm pretty sure it'd be perfectly fine. I'm cleaning it off just because I'm being a little bit particular about it. So one of these wheels, if you were talking about pricing, just off the cuff, will probably go for like 120 bucks, maybe 140. It's a lot of money. But it's not when you compare all the time that went into this. Like I might be getting $1 an hour. It's not much. Cheers. So that orangish color, I wonder if that is from the ale or from the b.linens. I'm not sure. It doesn't feel that sticky. Eating more cheese, eating more crackers. You know, see all this goop? That's what the goop is like. You can like spread it, super soft. You know, aged cheeses, the ones I've been doing, do not have rubbery texture that I often get from the Vac-Pack cheeses. Just something I'm noticing. It's been all scraped off more or less. I'm going to Vac-Pack it and pop it into the cheese fridge and let it continue to age in Vac-Packs, I guess, or else eat it. Doing it on the soft setting. And I'm going to cut some of this up for eating. There's a clean slice, a little bit of stuff on the edge that can be taken off. It has a little bit of a flavor that I don't like, but it's not horrible. There we go. Makes a lot of freaking lot of cheese. Woohoo!